What is up, guys? Before I start this video, I just want to remind you guys that you could become a member of the Mcdoubles channel, which helps me pump out more and more content for you guys so that I can keep this stuff going daily, all the time. But either way, thank you so much for watching the video. Let's jump right in. So I'm questing at the Den of Halesh right now, and right before this, I decided I was going to try a brand new build. Now, I wasn't entirely sure if this was going to be something that I showed on video, but it was definitely something that I wanted to try because the concept was so damn cool. And as we know from the last video, this will be the last video before we do hit level 64 and we will attempt a spirit moon chicken build. But after that, I want to invest more into this build again if it turns out to be as good as it's seeming to be right now. My health is low, as you can see, and if you look in the chat, I had to level up my skill with guns because I'm trying a Holy Ranger build. Now, so far, this is in fact what I've come up with. First, I'll go over the talents. If we look at the Hunter tree, I went ahead and I put most of my points into the marksmanship talents. I went ahead and got careful aim. This is converting some of my intellect into ranged attack power. That's going to give me better itemization that fits the fact that I will be using more mana with this build, with what I have planned, and you'll see. We have aimed shot, we have barrage, ranged weapon specialization. This straight up gives me 5% increased damage when I'm using a ranged weapon. I have improved barrage, so you'll see we have two talents that go into multi-shot and aim shot viability. And I took combat experience for the agility and the intellect. Obviously, both of those do very well for me. One of the running themes is we took a lot of agility talents, and then I have true shot art to capitalize on that attack power gain. In the paladin tree, you'll see this is where we're going to get the holy part. So we're using judgment. The reason we want to use judgment is because at level 64, Seal of Vengeance becomes viable. You'll notice when looking at the tooltip for Seal of Vengeance, it says causing attacks to apply Holy Vengeance. Now, this does not specify the type of attack, which would imply ranged auto attacks should work off of this. Now, obviously, I don't know this for sure, and the entire build, I think, does rely on this talent being viable with ranged auto attacks. Now, I checked the tooltips for every other seal, and if we just look here, we can go to the protection tree. Seal of Justice specifies each melee attack. If we go to the Holy Tree, Seal of Righteousness, each main hand melee attack. Seal of Light, each melee attack. Seal of Wisdom, giving each melee attack. So as we can see, with all of the other seals, they specify, and Seal of Vengeance does not. So I was thinking maybe a Holy Ranger build could be viable. With that in mind, I took things like Vengeance to increase my holy damage, as well as Crusade. We also took the Heart of the Crusader, so this gives us even more of a reason to use Judgment, because we increase our critical strike chance with all of our attacks after we use Judgment on our target by 3%. I also went with Righteous Vengeance. Not sure how required this talent is, but we should be critting with Judgment quite often, and so this would give us an extra bit of damage over time, although this might be a bit of a flex slot. Obviously, I'm making this build up on the spot. So if we look at Judgments of the Wise, so this is going to be my mana. I wanted to make sure I didn't run all the time. That is sometimes something that I forget with my builds, is you got to make sure that you upkeep your mana, so this makes my Judgment basically pay itself, and a little bit more. If we look at the Rogue tree, the only thing I have is Deadliness, again increasing my attack power. For Shaman, we went ahead and we took the Hybrid viability with Mental Quickness. This is going to really bring the build together, I would say. And then we have our abilities, right? So what we took is Bark Skin. We have a bunch of different ranged abilities here. True Shot Aura, of course, as I said, we have Explosive Shot from the Survival tree, and one talent I actually forgot, which was a very important one, is the Lone Wolf talent, right? So this build is a Lone Wolf build. So that is what I would categorize as a Ranger build. So when Ranger is in the title, I would say that's a Lone Wolf build. So I think being the Holy Ranger with Lone Wolf could actually be very, very advantageous alongside, Hunting Party for more agility, and then Explosive Shot is our Arcane Shot. So again, back to the abilities. We have Aspect of the Hawk. We took all sorts of things to increase our AP. We have Blessing of Kings. We have Rockbiter Weapon, Arcane Intellect, because we do have the intellect conversion into ranged attack power. Things like Viper Sting and stuff, just some utility. Hunter's Mark for more AP. We have Battle Shout, Battle Stance. We go into Paladin. We have Divine Shield. Kings, Hammer of Wrath as an execution spell should be quite good, actually, with Vengeance, the one that stacks extra holy power over time as I auto attack and use my Judgment. Seal of Justice, I only have right now because I can't get Seal of Venge. Clearly, this does nothing for me, but my concept is, at least with all the other ones, they don't do anything, but with this one, when I auto attack, sometimes I might stun my target, right? For Priest, we took Flash Heal, and we have Power Word Shield. And if we go over to the next tab as I try to kill this mob mid-talk, we have Rockbiter Weapon, okay? So, pretty decent set of abilities, and as you can see, the damage is actually there. I know one thing I wanted to try out was maybe a ranged build to use the Legion Blunderbuss we got at the end of last episode. Very, very cool weapon, and yeah, very worth using, I would say, as well. So if I go ahead and I apply my Hunter's Mark to my target, that increases my range attack power by 75, it seems, which is quite good, because right now we're at about 1100, but the gear, you have to remember the gear is mostly, you know, dungeon gear right now and is not itemized, but as you can see, we can hit pretty hard out of nowhere, and we have all of these different buffs that we're proccing on the top right here, increasing our holy damage, which will eventually be Seal of Vengeance, adding a big boost to our damage, but also that increases Hammer of Wrath and Judgment. And then, as you saw, we also have a variety of different ways to proc different forms of regeneration, like we have replenishment rather, so this is keeping our health up quite high. And I gotta admit, I really do enjoy the animation of the Draenei with guns. Not something you see often as a male Draenei using a gun, so this is pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. It really does look pretty decent. With the Battle Shout, we're at 1284 attack power, by the way, which is pretty good, I would say. I'm pretty confident that unless we go up against something that I don't know about, something meta, again, maybe getting one shot by TG, I think we could beat basically anybody that was trying to snipe me right now. And you'd be surprised, there have been some people, and they've been unsuccessful, but on the TBC realm so far, so... One thing I was considering was actually improved concussive shot as I get knocked down. And the reason I was considering improved concussive shot was because I know I'm going to use it a lot. But I was thinking if I do want to play TBC or create a build towards being good in PvE as well, concussive shot I don't believe works on bosses, so the effect would be wasted. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you go into the Marksman Hunter tree right here in the middle, we have right here on the top left, we have improved concussive shot. Again, this increases your chance to crit on your target with range attacks by 10% when you use concussive shot. Definitely worth it on most builds, I would say. Like if I was a Fel-Touched character, for example, I could proc it right there, have an extra 10% crit on that aim shot. It would be pretty good. One thing I've noticed is that aim shot is definitely hitting like a truck. I don't remember that. I doubt it was buffed. Maybe it was buffed in a patch before I returned to Ascension at all. But as you can see, 731 no crit is pretty good. You know, 15% reduced damage to players. I wouldn't say that's something to sleep on necessarily. But we crit fairly often with this build, so I really like the way that it plays. But okay, that is the Arakoa threat. Let's go turn that in. I really enjoy commentary during quests like that because it gets them done so fast. And sometimes some of these kill quests, they're relaxing. You know, you listen to music maybe or something like that while you do them, but they can be kind of tedious at times. Although I will admit, when I'm trying a brand new build like this, basically every quest becomes fun since you actually get to play it. Now, a couple shots that I didn't really go into depth on. Viper Sting. I'm assuming this will be also incredibly good for keeping up my mana as well. I'm pretty sure it can be used on bosses. Maybe not, but at least some of them, which could be good. Definitely on players and NPCs. So I don't think I'll ever go with this build, which is incredibly enticing, right? Because we do have Power Word Shield and Flash Shield, so our longevity is there. Now, the other one is Tranquilizing Shot. This removes enrages and magic effects. Now, I know enrage effects are used quite often. I don't know how many magic effects are used by players on themselves that often that they don't rely on another person to put on them. Maybe I'm wrong and people do kind of do what I'm doing, but if you look at the way the game is played in TBC, it's definitely not the same as live. I was looking at my build, I wanted to stack myself up on things like Wind Shear, different interrupts, Blink, but if you go and you look at the Mage tree right here, Blink actually costs 4 talent points. And if you go over here and you look at, for example, the Shaman tree and Elemental, Wind Shear is 4 talent points. And I realized I couldn't get everything that I wanted. And if I was going to go for all the overpowered abilities, I would have absolutely no buffs or anything like that, maybe even lacking damage cooldowns, because I just don't leave room there for myself. So I find that absolutely fascinating. I'm not going to lie. I think that they finally did it. That's actually a change I am incredibly excited for and wish was in the current game, even as a pre-patch, right? Because it's just so good. And assuming that those 2 talent points are applied to a variety of other very good spells, which I'm pretty confident that they are. One thing to keep in mind is that that might be the balance that we've needed to make the game incredibly good on basically every form that you can play it on. Now, how they balance this on seasonal, you know, I'm not really too sure, right? I think that's probably the reason TBC is delayed, other than, you know, needing to increase the dungeon difficulty and stuff like that. But, you know, balancing this around draft seems like it's going to be incredibly difficult, because it looks like the only way to really do it is by just reducing the skill, by making it almost the same as regular servers anyway, because it would be so easy to build the exact build that you want. You know, whether or not we gain more than we lose, I'm not exactly sure, but I really wouldn't mind draft mode being a little bit easier towards getting the build that you want, because at this point I'm kind of sick of it being completely random, even a little bit random, right, with draft, and I kind of just want to pick my stuff again. I think there is a way to make it to where people don't just load up on abilities that are broken, and live currently doesn't do that, which is why I think the main realms aren't as popular. But I think the TBC realm right now, I think they may have done it, right? I'm not going to go out on a limb yet and say they have. I want to play it more, but from what I'm seeing and how it has limited myself actually in creating good builds and creative builds, not just good and creative, I should really say overpowered. It doesn't limit your creativity really at all. It just limits your ability to be broken out of your mind by picking all of the most overpowered abilities in the game. You'll see with Judgment actually having a 30-yard cast range. I thought it actually might be 40. It's incredibly long, but it essentially does match all of my range spells right now, and it makes it feel very, very good. Although I've noticed Concussive Shot is not actually enough right now to keep a target off me for as long as I would like. I know for a fact that the way I've chosen my abilities is probably too greedy for any real PvP. This is really just me assuming nobody's going to fight me on the TBC realms, because I really don't need all of these buffs. What I really need are more ways to kite targets or more ways to create a gap. Like, for example, Blink. And you know what? If I find somebody and it turns out that maybe I can't get away with this, I will definitely make that change. But for now, I think we're going to be okay. Okay, so I'm looking for the Shinar key. I went to the completely wrong place. It's actually going to be in this building. I've done this a million times, but for some reason I thought I was already done with the quest. But I'm done with the other quest that I have to turn in back at the city. So we get the key from the metal coffer. What this is going to eventually give me is a scepter, and the scepter will be used on this big demon in the middle. Alright, so that's Akoru, and this is Aelin, and this is Maraud. So we're done. Now, I didn't mention this before, but we actually did take track humanoids as well, so that's why you can see all the humanoids on the map. This is for me to prevent getting ganked, right? Because as you can see, as I said, I did not choose the best gap creating rather abilities and ways to kite, so I feel like against a very aggressive melee build, I would get downed probably pretty quickly. But yet, let's use the staff, and now he's a wimp. Pretty easy. See, you can notice I don't actually have a interrupt of any kind, so I really thought one of them might cost less. I think they all actually are too expensive. I'm just going to look at Kick real quick just to see if I can kind of confirm my suspicions. So Kick is 3. So some of them are cheaper. So it seems the superior interrupts like Wind Shear and Counterspell are 4, but Kick is actually 3. Would that mean Pummel is at 3? Yes, it is. So the melee interrupts are at 3. Interesting design decision. This might actually force ranged builds to just go with a melee interrupt and kind of not keep as far away as they might have done otherwise, specifically so they can interrupt people when they begin to heal, or cast some form of really heavy offensive spell that's worth interrupting. Yeah, I don't really know about that one, but maybe. It's possible that builds already do that, but I bet they couple it with a ranged interrupt as well, if they do that at all. I don't see why on live you wouldn't just take as many ranged interrupts as you could on a ranged class. But okay, we're done with this quest. Let's go ahead and turn in Cruel Taskmasters. But you know what? Actually, first, I'm going to go ahead and do the Rampaging Ravagers quest. I didn't even see that I had this, but it's only 10 Quillfangs, which is nothing, so we might as well get it done. I think we actually turn it into the Dwarf Brothers. I think it's brothers, right? They're in this camp right here, right on the left-hand side of Falcon Watch. I think it's an Alliance-only quest. You can see the struggle with the kiting with only our, with an unimproved concussive shot. Of course, I don't take any damage at all, right? That's something to keep in mind. Wait, why is the Fel Reaver? Okay, it was just standing there for a second. It's like it was waiting for me. We really can hit pretty hard with this build. I was surprised because the last time I really played a ranged build that wasn't, you know, pre-level 60 was when I made Doubles Mac, which was a really long time ago. That was Season 3 Ranger builds. I guess link in the description below since I mentioned it. But yeah, that was a pretty okay build while I was leveling. It actually did very good when I was leveling, I'm not going to lie. But as soon as I hit 60, at the time, ranged builds were just so underpowered, it couldn't compete even with the best gear, which was crazy because I did actually have access to some of the best gear towards the end there, and it didn't really make a difference in the slightest. I'm also really skeptical on getting rapid fire here, as I've not even used it or felt the need for it a single time. I mean, of course, it might be good for just straight up raiding or something like that, but you guys know raiding. You know, raiding will be good in TBC for me because there's shit like Gruul, for example, which is quick. You know, my problem with raiding is I just don't enjoy 2 hours of hearing a bunch of people cry on Discord while I do bosses. I would rather shorten that to 40 minutes and call it a dungeon, you know what I mean? So Gruul completely solves that, right? Magtheridon completely solves that. It's, you know, and I will do every raid for the sake of doing it, but I feel far less forced, just overall in TBC, because I can buy gear too, right? Yeah, you can see this Judgment's actually hitting for 578. I think that's very, very good, actually. I mean, the whole point of Judgment isn't necessarily to go for a proc of anything, clearly, but what it's for is just having a very long-range holy spell, proccing my, as you can see, my Vengeance up here, which of course is making Vengeance even stronger, and then of course, proccing the Seal of Vengeance, hopefully, right, which would be very, very strong indeed. You know, there are just some things I wish were a little bit stronger for this build. You know, for example, I did in fact take Judgments of the Pure just for the damage increase on Judgment, and my Seal when I get the Seal that I want. But it also actually gives me haste. It doesn't specify ranged haste, actually. When you get the tooltip on the top right, it says casting and melee, actually, is what it specifies. So I'm a little concerned it won't actually work for my ranged auto attacks. It feels like ranged auto attacks were just left out on so many different things, and I'm assuming the reason they were is because casters will take auto shot and abuse it. What I think they probably should do, even though this is kind of gutting it, is probably just make it to where auto shot costs more than 2. Probably make it cost 5, so casters can't just grab it for some free DPS with like poisons or something, you know, blatant like that. It just doesn't feel right. I know it sucks. You think you're nerfing my build like this, and, you know, obviously I wouldn't want that to happen, but I think it would be better for the game, because then they could allow so many other things to be used with ranged auto attacks. Okay, we are only 4 bars away, but we're rested, and we popped an XP pot. I'm going to farm literally all of these vultures, I think. I'm just going to kill as many as I can, and we're going to grab 62. So I didn't actually know explosive shot affected nearby targets, but that's ridiculous. That's going to give me so much more AoE potential. In fact, I literally only thought to build my build around, you know, I mean, I think multi-shot's the best way to go, so don't get what I'm saying wrong, but I only really thought about using multi-shot for the sake of having that AoE DPS. I didn't think I was really going to need it as much for PvP, considering I really always have something to press, most of the time at least, if I do it properly. But wow, yeah, that's pretty good. I guess I could pull a lot more, so maybe we'll try that. I don't think they can kill me, if I'm honest with you. Wow, there were so many vultures. This is going to be a definite farm spot. I can guarantee you this will be a very, very coveted farm spot. If farm spots are a thing, at least. So if they're a thing, this is going to be where you go. Because check this out, guys. I can already tell you this is going to be the easiest thing of my entire life with this build. Yeah, I don't even have to think twice about it. It's actually that easy. My health is not really what it looks like. As you can see, it's not a big deal. You know, if I was worried about somebody ganking me, I could keep myself topped off the entire time that I'm doing this. So that's a lot of XP for basically no work, I'm not gonna lie. I really love that it attacks multiple targets around the initial target that you explosive shotted. That is so cool. I just don't, I even played a survival hunter at some point, but I think it was actually Cataclysm, and I just don't remember that. Maybe it didn't exist then, or maybe I just didn't notice. Look at this, this is so OP. I can heal basically indefinitely, due to the fact that I just have so much intellect through my gear, and you know, being able to turn that intellect into ranged attack power just makes me feel so good about this build. Everything is really flowing smoothly, so again, as long as the Seal of Vengeance works, it's going to be amazing. I won't be woefully disappointed if it doesn't work, I'm not going to lie, but yeah, I definitely wish it worked, because I think this could be a build I could see myself actually playing quite a lot. Oh my god, I don't have any ammo. Wow, that's not good. God, that means I was also using crappy level 1 ammo, level 5 I should say, item level 5 at least ammo. Ooh, is this build gonna be way stronger with good bullets? Nope, I'm not gonna die. I just went on and said this wasn't actually hard, I can't die. Ooh, and I can remove, when I get out of combat at least, I can actually remove the low mana crap. You guys actually told me it was part of the combat text add-on. Okay, so I'm just looking for ammo now, so there should be some kind of general vendor, maybe even just the innkeeper here. Nope, not the innkeeper. So what ended up happening is I decided to do a quick dungeon with a friend of mine that I met at Honor Hold, and yeah, we just two-manned it actually, so that shows you how badly these things need to be buffed. But we two-manned it real quick, and as a result of that, I got level 62. Also, if you look on the bottom right, our DPS was actually fairly well at multiple points during this dungeon. Like fairly high is what I mean. It was very, very good. We broke over like 1.4k DPS at times, so I think there's some potential there considering we're level 62 with the gear that we have. So yeah, this is something to keep in mind. The build is at least performing. And then we also ended up rolling Need and winning a pretty sick necklace too. Pretty good for this build, much better than the Spell Power Intellect necklace that we had on prior. And that is going to be the end of this episode. We are level 62. I did a quick run of Hellfire Ramparts with Boss here. Pretty good feral tank. So I'm going to end the video on this very good note. The build that I am playing right now, I'm very excited about. So cannot wait to show you guys it in a future video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Mcdoubles out.